Hi, this is Carl with another SOP video for managed service providers, and today I have a double whammy question for you. First, are you above average or below average? And second, should you be following best practices? Here's why that's interesting. Here we have a very poorly drawn normal curve. So what does that mean? Well, there's a line right down the middle, right? So 50% are below, 50% are above, and let's just call that the average, right? And then you have two lines that are the standard deviations, right? So one standard deviation below, one standard deviation above the middle, above the norm, okay? So one standard deviation on either side takes in 68% of the entire population. Okay, so think about yourself and your company. Are you above average or below average? And of course, you might be above average in sales and below average in tech support. Or you might be way above average in tech support but below average in customer service, or marketing, or service delivery, or getting your tickets in on time, right? No matter how you measure yourself. So now, when we talk about best practices, what does that mean? Well, let's assume that best practices is going to put you on the right side of normal, on the right side of the mean. Right? Best practices, we want to be 2 standard deviations above the mean. So now you're talking 97%, right? If you are, and you know yourself to be, above average, then you need to look very suspiciously about the quote-unquote best practices for things where you're already above average. Best practices are going to help you most when you are below average and you want to move towards average. You want to move into the middle of that group. The best practices are by definition going to be on the right side of normal. Now, if they're truly best, if they're like top 1%, top 2% practices, that's great. But for most people, best practices is really just going to get you right square in the middle of average. And to be honest, I don't want to hire you if you're just plain average. I want to hire you if you're spectacular. So let's blow past best practices and have great practices. Really great stuff on all scores. The good news is you're probably below average on lots and lots of things. So you can be proud of the things where you're already way above average and then have a plan to work yourself closer to average by following best practices for everything else. The bottom line is you need to think about this, place your company somewhere on the curve for customer service, tech support, so forth and so on, right? Evaluate where you really honestly are, use best practices to raise yourself up where you need to, and stop paying attention to best practices where you're already above the middle of the field. For Small Biz Thoughts, this is Carl Palchuk wishing you all the best in your managed service business.